So I know a lot of you are actually wondering, how big is the difference in image quality when it comes to the Blackmagic 4K Pocket Cinema Camera and the Panasonic GH5s? In this video, I'm gonna try to find out. So before I get into the video, I just want to say thank you to Panasonic here in Sweden for borrowing me Panasonic GH5s. I've actually used it for almost a month now, and I feel that I really have come to know the camera. So I know that a lot of people believe that the sensors in these two cameras are basically the same, and I'm not of the same conclusion because of that on how they use and utilize the 4K DCI mode. Both are slightly larger than Micro Four Thirds. So before I get into the image quality on these two cameras, there are actually two things that I would like to talk about. So when it comes to usability, you actually have to think about which type of video shooter you are. Are you the one who really needs to shoot in broad daylight? Then you're probably gonna need an EVF or a really bright screen. Are you the type that usually shoots in different and strange angles? Then you might need to have a screen on your Blackmagic Cinema 4K camera. As long as you know what you're getting yourself into, then that's okay, and you have the budget to actually buy more gear so you can do what you want with your camera. Me being in hybrid shooter, the photography aspect is actually quite a big thing for me, and being able to take really good photos when I'm out shooting video is so important because I have so many clients that say, well, can you shoot video? Yes, I can. Can you take a few photos? Yes, I can. And even though these sensors are quite the same, shooting photos on these two cameras is like night and day. On the Blackmagic Pocket, you actually can take photos, but I actually would only use them for reference. There were so many features that you lack. So yeah, when it comes to taking photos, the Panasonic GH5s is actually quite good. And when talking about the Panasonic GH5s, I was actually kind of worried that the 12 megapixels wouldn't be sufficient, but actually looking at the files and depending on where you're going to use those photos, 12 megapixels could actually be quite okay. I've been using the photos on social media, and for that the image quality is far more than you will ever need. So when it comes to usability and the fact that you can actually take great photos, the Panasonic GH5s is going to be a clear winner in those two regards. But I know that a lot of people are looking at the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera for video only, and that is what I'm going to look further into right now. So when it comes to image quality, that is a highly subjective matter. Some people like one thing, others like another. But what I can say from the bat is that the footage from the Panasonic GH5s is actually much sharper than the Blackmagic Cinema 4K camera, and that it was actually to be expected because it's the same deal on the Panasonic GH5. So sharper doesn't always mean better. That can come to cost of image quality, but the image quality on the GH5s is great, and so is the image quality on the Blackmagic Pocket. And I also would say that with the Blackmagic Pocket, there is room for sharpening the footage without it looking really strange. So I would say that even though the Panasonic GH5s is sharper, it's basically the same thing because you can sharpen the footage from Blackmagic and it will look great. One thing that a lot of people look at is the highlight roll-off on different cameras when they try to look at cameras. And here I would like to say that the Blackmagic Pocket actually has an edge on the Panasonic GH5, but that is because of the higher dynamic range that the Blackmagic Pocket has. And that was not a surprise to me. But if you know how to expose your shots properly and don't blow those highlights on the Panasonic GH5s, it might not be as a big deal as a lot of people are out to make it. on both of these cameras you can actually shoot 10-bit 422, and that is such a huge deal. What you can see here in the footage is that you can go in and post and manipulate the footage quite a lot without getting any types of artifacts. And I would say that here the Blackmagic Pocket also has an edge, but I don't know if that edge is because of the better codec that is in the camera, which is the ProRes. And I know that you can actually shoot RAW on the Blackmagic Pocket, and I actually didn't test that because I know that when you're shooting RAW you have so much more information in the total image. So I mean, it wouldn't be a fair comparison, but if you're looking to be a RAW shooter, I mean, that's a huge thing, and the Blackmagic Pocket would be the #1 decision for you. Now, when it comes to colors on both these cameras, it's so subjective on what people actually like. Some prefer this, others prefer that. I know that Tony Northrup made a wonderful video about color on photos, and I would say that the same thing is applicable to video. A lot of people say that they like the Canon colors, but when I actually see a video from a Panasonic camera, they like that more, or vice versa. So I would say that this is so subjective. What I can say is that both of these cameras are really nice when it comes to skin tones, and looking at those, I mean, there are slight difference, but in post you can actually make them match so nicely. I would say that the Blackmagic Pocket actually has the edge here, but for me, it's not only the skin tones, it's when you're getting those skin tones, how does the rest of the image look like? And I've seen that the Blackmagic is actually quite hard to grade at times, because you nail those skin tones and the rest of the image can look a little bit different. And also, when trying to get the proper white balance in camera, it's really hard with the Blackmagic Pocket. I've noticed that when I have lights, like in here in the studio, all these lights around me are at 5500 Kelvin. When I shoot with the Blackmagic in the studio, I can see that the white balance is actually quite far off. I have to shoot at 5100 to get closely to where I want to be. So there is something strange going on with the white balance on the Blackmagic Pocket, and I'm not finding the same issue on the Panasonic GH5s. I'm guessing this is a firmware issue, so I guess that Blackmagic can fix this quite soon. So I know that a lot of you are looking at these two cameras because of how good they are in low noise, and I would say that both of them are great. But this is also a place where I think that these two sensors might not be the same. I mean, I know that there is more to the noise pattern in your footage than the sensor. It's what you do with that information afterwards. But in the end, I would say that they are so similar that I wouldn't actually know the difference when it comes to the higher ISO. I would say that at 6400 they're more or less the same at 3200, vice versa. So one thing that I really love about my Panasonics is that they do really good slow-mo. You have the ability on the Panasonic GH5s to go up to 240 frames per second, even though it's in a slight crop. With the Blackmagic, you have the ability to go up to 120, but that image is so soft and so bad that I don't like to use it, and that image has a 2x crop. On the other hand, with the Blackmagic, I found that when you shoot in RAW and slow-mo, you actually get a very nice picture, and the difference in quality is substantial. So if you're out there and you have the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera and you want to do slow-mo, my recommendation would be to go RAW there, even though I don't like to shoot RAW because it is such a pain in post. When it comes to the Blackmagic, I actually do it because it's such a big difference in image quality. Also with the Panasonics, you do get a little bit of aliasing and moire when shooting in those frame rates. So that is a thing to think about, but I do prefer using the Panasonic because of not having a crop and because of the ProRes version on the Blackmagic is so soft. It's so hard to say which of these two cameras is better than the other. I know when it comes to usability and to photos, it's a no-brainer. It's the Panasonic GH5s. But when it comes to, okay, which camera should you take up? It's so hard because it depends on what you're going to shoot. If you're a YouTuber, I would go with the Panasonic GH5s. If you're actually looking to make short movies, long-time movies, anything where you are in a controlled environment, I would go with the Blackmagic because that image is so nice. I would say that it is slightly better than the Panasonic GH5s. I just want to say that when I'm on a computer, a 27-inch editing, I can see the slight difference. I can say that if you would be looking at that image on a huge screen after post, after grading the footage, you wouldn't see the difference. I mean, yes, I do like the images coming from the Blackmagic Pocket, but I wouldn't say it is a huge difference to the Panasonic GH5s. If you are interested in a lot of Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K videos, I have a playlist down low where I've done like 12 or 13 videos, and I have a few more coming where I'm testing different things of that camera. So I would love if you could subscribe or watch that playlist. Until the next time, bye bye.